Alright, nerds, this is the pre-recorded, unscripted version where I will be discussing the initialization. First off, have the gauntlet plugin turned on, have resource tracking turned on, have it set to 777, 3 leaves, 2 frames, 24 fish, 520 shards. And then down here, make sure you turn on outline starting room utilities. And the rest of that is up to you. Now enter into here and tag Hunliff so that you see his outline, and tag or mark these tiles to make them very clear, as they will be the safe spots in Phase 3. They are not safe spots in Phase 1 and 2. Alright, now we will go on to the run with the scripted version of the explanation for my optimization. Okay, since there are 1,000,001 guides for this, I will try to aim this guide under the assumption that you already know what things are and the basics of Gauntlet and focus on technique instead. The goal of the prep is to get T2 armor and 1 T3 weapon. We will do this in 3 trips for resources. The first trip, your goal will be 1 weapon frame, 2 of the 3 herbs, and 7 of each resource. The first thing you want to do is enter the closest room to when you start. Follow along the pattern that makes a crown, searching each mini-boss room as you gather resources. You'll need to drop your axe and pickaxe in the process to have enough space for this. Take note of any fish that you find, since you'll want to see at least 6 spawns. You'll check anywhere from 14 to 17 rooms in this process, and if you get back to the base without all of your first set of resources finished, or if the timer is under about 4 minutes and 45 seconds remaining, you should consider leaving and trying again. When you get to the base, drop all armor resources next to the crafting table. Make sure to drop 3 of each one first, and then the rest after, as you pick them up in the order that they are dropped. Craft 1 T2 weapon and 3 vials. If you have enough shards, make 30 dust and then drop your pestle and mortar. Fill the 3 vials with water either in the room or at the first fish pool, but craft your potions while running to save time. You want to drink 1 dose of potion in the gathering phase, but try to wait until you are either out of run energy or can benefit from the full prayer regeneration. Remember that you'll want to decant the 3 potions into 2 4-dose potions while drinking the 9th dose. The next resource run will be to collect 1 mini-boss drop, 1 more weapon frame, 1 more herb, and 3 pools of fish or more, and all of the shards that you need. I prefer the bow over the staff, but the staff is probably better. The only reason you'll ever kill the bear is for shards, since you can disassemble the hilt for 80 shards. The T3 melee weapon is, in my opinion, worse than a Tier 2 range weapon of either type. You will have time to check 2 sets of mini-boss rooms, but you will not have time to check a 3rd. If you do not find at least 1 beast or dragon in those 6 rooms, consider leaving. Try to prioritize fish pools that are further away from the base during this run. Once your inventory is full of fish and you have all the shards you need, you should be around the 2-minute mark. If you have more than 2 minutes 30, you can try to get another T3 weapon if you have the time. This is about 40% of your runs. If you have under 1 minute and 30 seconds, you should consider leaving. Finally, if you know where the last batch of fish are, then you know the run distance to and from them is going to likely be longer than the run distance back. Use your crystal teleport. You will want at least 2 minutes left when starting the crafting and the final fish run. In the base, cook all of your fish and drop most of them. You'll want at least 12 free inventory spaces. First, make your second T2 weapon and all T3 weapons. Pick up 3 of each crafting material, make Tier 1 armor, equip it. Pick up the rest of the materials, make Tier 2 armor. And if you happen to have more than 40 shards remaining and you used your crystal teleport, you can make another one. I pretty much never make the Karambo on fish, so that's kind of up to you. Ideally, your inventory should be your other weapon, 2 4-dose potions, and 24 or 25 fish. Anything under 16 fish, you should consider leaving. Anything under 12 is basically not possible, unless you are exceptional with your gameplay and DPS optimization. Finally, you'll want to rush to the last 3 fish pools, fish them, and if you still have the crystal teleport, use that, or just run back. You can pick up and cook 1 fish per tick, so cut yourself short as needed. Drop any remaining shards, your harpoon, and your torch once you enter the home base, cook and collect your fish, and prepare to enter the boss room. If you have remaining time, you should wait for the boss to get as close to a corner as possible, ideally right up against 2 walls to where you can move diagonally from the center of the room to the opposite corner and drag it so it is 1 space away from the wall on 2 sides. It is also fine with 1 space on one side and 2 space on another. When you get used to the fight, it is possible to move the boss into better positioning by walking underneath it for a single tick after it attacks. Since this movement is random and the risk of stomps are high, do not try to be too greedy with this. There are 1,000,001 guides in the boss's actual mechanics, so I won't go over those details as they are the same as normal mode. Instead, I will simply talk briefly about priority, especially during Phase 3, but during the whole fight, there can be many things happening at the same time. The worst series of events could be tornadoes during a tile change, with a prayer removal and him changing to range attack at the same time. I always keep my health high, over 90, but try to not overeat or drink prayer too soon. And remember to also try to keep steel skin up unless you are out of prayer potions. If you are over 90 HP, you can survive a single tick of all 4 tornadoes at once. You will also not need to worry about trying to eat while dodging tornadoes. Remember that eating does delay your attacks a bit, so during Phase 1 and 2, it is okay to wait until 2 fish will heal you to full, or to eat at the same time that you swap weapons. In Phase 3, the tiles become important to not just avoid, like in Phase 1 and 2, where they are simply a part of the room you cannot stand on, but it is more important to understand them. If a tile shift happens in Phase 3, you must make that very high priority. You'll have only 2 ticks to click before you start taking damage. This is why standing in a safe spot tile between tornadoes is an absolute must. When tornadoes come out, you should think of the tile shifts as more of a maze to solve. However, if you begin to panic, running absolutely anywhere is better than just standing still. Do not try to attack between tornadoes until you have killed the boss enough to feel how often you should attack, or unless you are out of food and at the very end of your attempt's viability. Try to click methodically and understand the various pathways you can take around the room. Again, think of it like a maze. The most dangerous part of this is when the boss is attacking with mage and throws a purple blob out to disable prayer. In T2 armor, expect max hits of under 50. Survivable, but it will cost you over 2 food to fully recover. Since you will often have moments where you will have only 3 ticks after seeing the purple blob to click to move twice, as well as put your prayer back on, it is absolutely imperative that you will have your prayer in inventory pages keybound. You simply don't have the time to click 4 times precisely in 3 ticks when you can click 3 times instead. The general priority is this. 1. Moving away from tornadoes or you face up to 90 damage in a single tick. 2. Putting your prayer up properly. 3. Eating to full HP. 4. Attacking. 5. Swapping weapons. Phase 3 APM can get rather high, and since the precision and accuracy of clicks get exponentially lower the further your mouse has to move from one spot to where you are trying to click, there is actual academic research to the mathematics of this. And since you often only have a couple ticks to click multiple places, playing on a small screen size will help dramatically. This fight is very difficult. My first 30 kills felt like miracles. However, almost all of my deaths were in the first 30 kills, and my only deaths after were from disconnects. T2 armor will save you in so many scenarios where tier 1 would have been a death. That's about it. Good luck, nerds. The red prison is love. The red prison is life. Three, two, one, and alright, this is the boss recording. This is unscripted, so we'll see how many mistakes I end up making here. So my first priority here in Phase 1 and Phase 2, since I don't really like what position he's actually in going into this, because I didn't really have enough time to get everything properly situated, is I really just want to get him in a good position, which would ideally be 1 space on each side of him from the wall, so 1 space behind him, 1 space to his side, or 2 spaces on one side, 1 space on another is also fine. So I spent most of Phase 1 and 2 trying to do this in this kill, because I'm kind of obsessive about doing that for having it for Phase 3. And it is kind of unfortunate that tornadoes do kind of slow you down in trying to get him into position. I wouldn't recommend doing all of this extra effort to get him in position unless you're feeling pretty confident with being able to do it, because you'll see that I get slammed a couple times and I take an enormous amount of damage because of that. But having him in the right position definitely helps during Phase 3.
2, 1.
Now, during all this, of course, I also want to try and keep up my DPS as high as possible, so I really just do it when I get the chances like that. And because these movements are kind of random, it's just kind of like, don't be, you kind of have to get lucky. The thing to keep in mind is you should click as far as you can from these tornadoes, just because it gives you more clicks
Mage.
like free clicks to actually make other adjustments during that process. I got slammed there. Remember, when you get slammed, to click the button. It's very important. And you can also increase the amount of ticks or decrease them between the callouts as needed, because
range.
sometimes you'll just forget, or you'll find that you clicked it at the wrong time to start it up because he was in a far corner and didn't attack sooner than you, or he attacked sooner than you thought, or later than you thought, and you want to adjust it so that it's, you know, it's synchronized. He still just will not do it, and I keep getting slammed. Fortunately, these are low-end damages. Alright, we're in phase 2 now.
2, 1, range.
Remember, think of it more like a maze that you're trying to solve. You gotta see the tiles like you'd see the Matrix.
1, mage.
Alright, he's in a good position now. This is where I like him. 1 space on one side, 2 spaces on another. So from this point forward, I'm just going to focus all on DPS and just not dying.
2, 1, range.
Again, click far. Keep up that DPS.
2, 1, mage.
The Mage Prayer is not entirely necessary, but it does increase your accuracy by a few percent,
1,
so I think
range.
it's worth it. Also, I keep Steel Skin up constantly unless I'm out of prayer potions and need to conserve prayer. It does help reduce the number of hits that you get hit by, so it's worth using. I like to stay in the corner like this when I can. The downside is that sometimes a tornado will spawn directly next to you, and you have only a single tick to try and figure out. This double backing was kind of risky too, and it cost me getting hit by a 40 because of it, but I had to make sure it was timed properly so I didn't get run over by the tornadoes.
2, 1,
you can Wooks walk over
mage.
them, but it's not recommended because it's kind of risky unless you know what you're doing. We are in phase 3 now.
2,
so
1,
remember what I said,
range.
think of it like a maze that you need to solve. You move 2 tiles, they move 1. Focus more on movement than on DPS. Only DPS if you really have the opportunity.
2,
also, I try to avoid
1,
going around the back of the boss
mage.
like this. Simply because, you know, sometimes you get trapped in there by the tiles. The tile damage that I took just a moment ago was just simply from being bad, not from that. But usually I also try to stand on the tile that's closest to him, that's free. I just didn't happen to do it here because this is another save tile.
2, 1, mage.
Alright. I had to make a quick double back here. Remember that moving at all is most likely not going to make you take damage, but staying still could be instant death.
2, 1,
alright.
range.
This is my comfy spot right there. I used a lot of food this kill, but a good chunk of it was because I got slammed a few times while
2,
trying
1,
to get him into
mage.
position. So, feeling a little bit on edge right now when I get to this position where I have no prayer potions left and only a couple food left, but he's almost dead, so
2,
priority number 1 is just staying alive.
Range.
And priority number 2 is just hitting him when you can.
2, 1,
there we go.
mage.
And he is out. Alright, easy kill.